Hey, Scholar, whose book are you reading now?
I'm enjoying a great reading by Stephanie Solomon. Her conversational writing style, disciple-centric themes, and liberal approach to topics is such a blessing to me. She's so on point.
Wow, she sounds like someone I want to hear, and her book's like something I need to share with my book club.
You know, her books are accessible through all electronic mediums and at the brick-and-mortar booksellers, and you can hear her on her weekly blog talk radio show.
I take it she's on Twitter and other social networks?
Yes, and she's funny, too.
Sounds like the author and her books have great personality. I'll be getting my copies today.
Well, hello, everybody here, there, and everywhere. Welcome to Winning Ways. I'm your host, Stephanie Solomon. Well, summer is over, everybody. It is now fall. And I tell you, I hope that you enjoyed these hot days. We're having hot days and we're having storms and all of that. And my internet went out earlier. So I'm praying that we don't have any issues tonight. Well, I'm excited tonight, as always. I'm always excited and rejoicing, but I'm excited because I'm talking to a live person. Yes. All right. I see people are coming in. You know what to do. Hey there. I need you to like, subscribe, send some comments. Let's get some chatter going on over here. And if you're on the YouTube side, I need you to hit subscribe. You know, I'm trying to build that community up over there. Welcome to Winning Ways again. Again, my name is Stephanie Solomon. If you're new on this side of the woods, I've been podcasting since 2010 on the audio platform. And so now I'm on YouTube and I'm trying to build a community. Hi, Miss Claudia. Thank you for dropping in. Yes. Well, this is September, and September is, to my mind, from what I'm hearing, it is Suicide Awareness Month. And you all know that I'm an advocate for mental health. I have been having difficulty, though, finding someone who would come on and talk about, who's an expert, who has some background knowledge and actually practicing with this particular topic. I'm looking for someone to come on. And if you know of anyone, just hit my DMs and put that in for me. And I'm hearing a little echo and I don't know why. I have things turned off here. Well, anyway, I'm going to get straight to it. Not going to belabor things. My guest tonight is Miss Danyell Winkey Smith. And Danyell is venturing into the author space. The author space. And as many of you know, I'm an author and a life coach as well. And my niches in life coaching are forgiveness, family relations, and personal development. Forgiveness is a big deal to me. You know, I have tons of information and videos on that. And that's an area that Danyell is going to be sharing with us this evening. Hey, Danyell, how's it going?
Hi, good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining us.
Well, a little bit about Danyell. She is a busy lady, y'all. She really is. Well, I'll tell you, she's a military wife, a retired lady at that. She's the mom, she's the grandmother, and she's my soror, y'all, by the way. So I'm so happy that she would be a part of this endeavor. But she's an advocate for communities. She community concerns. She does a lot when it comes to serving the underprivileged, the marginalized individuals in our communities, and she does a really good job at that. She's even served on various committees.
Your sound is out.
Okay, can you hear me now? Mm-hmm. Thank you. And she's also part of the Black Women for Positive Change. And as I said, she's involved in a lot of advocacy groups. She's a member for Black Girls, and she can tell you a little more about that as well. But we're going to get right to this project that Danyell is a part of. It's called the 365 Joy Devotional Project. And just tell us a little bit about that, Danyell.
Hi, good evening, everyone. So I got asked by a young lady who is just amazing. I just went over to her house to purchase something for her one day and was feeling a little down. And she talked to me, she prayed with me, and she told me about this project she's a part of called the 365 Joy Devotional. And I know I want to write a book one day. And I said, this is a good segue into also, more importantly, there are so many things that are going on with us, just men, women, children, everyone in general, with emotional and mental health. Just being able to talk about what we're dealing with, what we're going through. And I just think that sometimes if we share some of our testimonies and our experiences, you never know if someone is going through the same thing. So this 365 devotional is a group of 365 co-authors. And we all have a page, and we will all be talking about our affirmation and our devotionals of how we found joy. And I started to ponder it and thought about the different things that I have been through in life, the trials, the tribulations, and the hurdles, and realized that I found most of my joy in forgiving. And so I'm going to talk about that tonight. Forgiving and is the way that I found my joy.
Awesome. That is so awesome. Um, Forgiveness is one of those delicate, touchy areas. Everyone has an opinion on it, whether we should or should not. I follow several individuals on Instagram, in particularly, that their groups are related to family matters and what have you, and they're survivors. And it's always interesting to see in the comments where people have comments on why they will not forgive. And I know what that's like, been there, done that multiple times. And there's always something that comes up in life that requires that we forgive. And sometimes the events get more dramatic or difficult than the last. But there is, as you said, there's a blessing to forgiving. And you said that there's joy, actually finding joy after forgiving. I'm not going to ask you what you had to forgive because I'm sure that's a myriad of things. But at what point did you realize that it was just worth it? It's just worth it to forgive.
So of course we all know, and I want to say this, forgiveness to me is key. And forgiving is not for the perpetrator or, the person who hurt you or the action or whatever. Forgiveness is for you to move on. So I found joy in forgiving by saying, after a while, because it takes time, it can take months, weeks, years, and sometimes it can take a second, depending on what you're dealing with, what you're going through, what you're forgiving. But I found that I had to forgive because I noted that over the years, these individuals or these different things that caused me harm or hurt me emotionally, mentally, and physically, um, they were still enjoying life. They were doing their thing. And I was like, oh my God, I'm spending all this time feeling this way. And then society would tell you the alternatives are to, get into drugs, be promiscuous, do alcohol, or harming like you have been harmed. And I said, but that's not how I feel. How would anybody want to hurt someone after they know how it felt to be harmed? So I decided to forgive these individuals. And some of them I had to forgive from a distance and love from a distance. And there are different levels of forgiveness. So that is my way of finding joy in forgiving. I had to understand that it wasn't doing anything but causing me harm and hurt and pain. But once I forgive, I was able to move on and be a mother, be a wife, do all of the things that we consider normal things in life.
That's there. You said something important. You said there are layers to it. We were talking before this show, and we were talking, and you mentioned there are layers to it, and it's a process. I think that many people, and I've said this over and over again, I have this pinned on my Instagram, what forgiveness is not. As a forgiveness coach, I often start with what forgiveness is not so that the client can fully understand uh, what they're actually entering into, what's required of them. Because so many people think forgiveness is reconciliation. They have to join hands and sing kumbaya, with the perpetrator. They think it's trust. They think that it's access again. They think it's amnesia. Oh, but God forgets. He doesn't hold it against us. Everything that we do and say is going to be brought up on Judgment Day, but forgetting in that context means he's not even letting it be an issue here. He's not bringing it up to be an issue, which, by the way, many of us have a problem doing. We still remember, even though we say we forgive him, we still bring it up. But it's not amnesia, it's not reconciliation, it's not trust, though these things can happen. They can. I had someone say to me, but Jesus forgave and he's about reconciliation. Absolutely. And he actually died for our sins so that he could reconcile us back to the Father. However, everyone isn't going to be reconciled back. I mean, there is a heaven and a hell for a reason. Exactly. Because of choice. We choose, and there are people who choose not to go that way. That's a choice. So I think that when people understand what forgiveness is not, it opens the door for people to let their guard down and not be as angry with the offender. And by the way, I often have to tell people forgiveness is for us, but it's not always about other people. We have to forgive ourselves for some crappy stuff we've done to us.
Exactly.
Like Mary J said, we haven't always been kind and gentle with us. I believe forgiveness is soul care. It's self-care and it's soul care. It's soul care because it deals with that part of us that deals with memories and drama and trauma and emotions, our mindset, our will, whether we want to forgive or not. It deals with the soul, where the issues are. And I think when people start to realize how we're made up, it kind of helps us get through. Joy and forgiveness almost seem like two opposites. How do you reconcile that? How do you see them working in harmony? Joy and forgiveness.
They aren't two opposites. What I do is I take my joy from the heart, and I have to continue to be who I am. And so I even have a couple of friends that are like, girl, you so nice, you so forgiving. And sometimes it is a struggle. And like I mentioned before, and you mentioned, there are different levels of forgiveness. And so I may talk a good game. Sometimes I'm with somebody and I'll talk about how I feel. But then when I get there, I was like, but that's not me. And I have to continue to be who I am. And so I have to forgive again, like you said, to move on with life. And that self-care, because if it's going to stress me out, make me feel like I'm about to have a conniption or a heart attack or a stroke, like, okay, Danyell, pray about this, calm down, and handle it this way, because what are the alternatives? And again, the different levels. There are some people you have first of all, you have to forgive yourself for things that you've done. And then in addition to that, you have to forgive different people and different things different ways. So you can forgive that person that you still love, but they have done so many egregious things to you that you can't deal with them. You respect who they are, but you can't be around them. You can't deal with them. Well, you have to take them at a different level. Then there are some people that you can forgive and you can still go around them, and you can be professional, you can be cordial, as we would say, sisterly. But like I said, there are different levels. But me, I tend to take finding my joy and forgiveness from dealing with it from my heart, of how I have to act at that point in time.
I like that. I like that different levels. Do you find that there are people who feel that they are being shamed or especially guilted into being around people who have offended them? So someone will, I see this a lot. People will weaponize the scripture. Well, you're supposed to do, God forgave, or they'll use a scripture. Forgive, 70 times 7, and the people who are saying it are the ones who want the offended ones to enter into the arena with individuals who've hurt them. But I have found that people are really selective also, because most people wouldn't want their children or someone they really love to enter into arenas of people who have highly offended them. So people can really be selective with that.
Well, what we have to do when that happens, that's why I say different levels, and you have to deal with how you feel in your heart. I know individuals who people have done some of the most egregious things to them, and they still love them. They still attend the family events. They still doing everything as if nothing happened. But that's the way they have to handle it. And like we said, with the different levels, there are different time spans. It could be a week, 2 weeks, years. It could be years. Sometimes you can never get over it. And then there are those people who said, look, I'm not going to deal with them at all. I'm not going to be near them. So what I do is I respect the different levels of forgiveness, because to me, the main premise of all of it is your self-care and thinking about you and what's going to make you happy. Sometimes people will go into an even deeper depression or thought or lifestyle when they're surrounded by that person or how it makes them feel. So it has to be with how an individual feel that they can handle the forgiveness.
I like that. There are so many people who feel forced, and I've talked to clients who battle that. They feel forced to be in the same spaces with individuals who don't mind being in spaces with them and have never apologized sincerely, because we can say I'm sorry, but it doesn't mean anything if your actions don't line up with it. But you're right. There are also individuals who some people can't figure out, who have forgiven people who've done the craziest things. I'm a crime documentary buff, and I like watching 2020 and all of that. And not too long ago, I was watching an episode where a man was on death row for the murder of a woman's loved one. And she was asked to go before the parole board and everything. And when she went, she recommended whatever the best was for him and forgave him. And there were so many people who were like, oh, she's a wimp and blah, blah. She says, it doesn't mean I didn't love my loved one. I really, no one, don't question how I felt about my loved one. I did. But what is it doing to me to hate this person? And the prisoner didn't even know how to receive it. What she was saying is she was done with feeling this way. It happened. She acknowledged it happened, but she was done, as you said, of holding on to the bitterness and whatever. She was looking for joy.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
She was looking for joy. And there are people who in a world of 7 billion people, who have very different views on this powerful act, because I learned it's powerful and it has evolved with me. In my first book, written in 1997, there's a chapter called Forgiveness is Not an Option. I wrote about what I learned and knew about forgiveness at that time. Since 1997 to 2023, a lot has happened. A lot has happened to, like you said, levels, which has made me question forgiveness. But the same principle applies. And I made a choice that I want better and not bitter.
But I'll give you a prime example. One of my testimonies is that is so understandable, because I have tried that and been around, individuals who were part of my struggle, who were the perpetrators. And I tell you, it's hard. My whole body, I'm smiling on the outside, and I'm enjoying the event, but on the inside, I am shaking. And I'm just thinking, I hope nobody sees me shaking. There are times where I wanted to cry. And then there were also times where I used to feel a certain way about people who accepted the perpetrator. So that's another level. Individuals who still love and accept the perpetrator. And how could they feel that way when they know all of the crazy, egregious things that happened to you? So those were other factors that made me feel like I had to understand that I need to forgive in order for me to move on, because everyone else was living their life.
Yeah.
And I was feeling like, well, society says this, they say that. And I refuse to let society dictate who I am. And so, there are things that I see even in my life now, people may put certain things in, but I'm like, wow, is this me? Did I do that? I've overcome that. And so I realize now the reason why we need to share this information and give our testimonies, because you never know whose life you're saving.
Yes.
Who has been through some of these circumstances and dealt with it and didn't know you haven't. So when you share it with them, they're like, wow, well, if they can do it, maybe I have a chance to do it. Maybe I'm not going to think about committing suicide. Maybe I'm not going to think about not moving on and making this next step in my life.
You said something right there. People don't understand because we're all wired differently. And yes, Claudia, it is a powerful act. It really is.
Yes.
People don't understand that what is not a big deal to you, me, or the next person could be a very big deal to the next person,
And we need
the
to
way
respect that.
Exactly. You said something interesting about helping someone to the point where it could prevent suicide. Again, I said this earlier, this is Suicide Awareness Month. There are so many things that can take a person over the edge. And any of us, given the right lineup, situation, timing of events, it could be any of us. And that whole forgiveness piece, which deals with the emotional well-being of us, our soul care, and what have you, when people negate forgiveness, it makes us physically sick. I can relate to what you just said. I literally would get physically sick because of the stress that comes behind not forgiving. Like you said, being in the presence of certain people, putting this mask on, wondering if people feel my energy, because I know I'm being fake and I don't have a good poker face, and my insides are going through a dryer, like a, washer dryer. It's crazy. I know. And I had to make that decision. I cannot live like this.
Yes.
I cannot live like this. And I see why the Lord gives us an outlet and says, vengeance is mine. I'll take care of it. I'll take care of it. And I've lived long enough to see that the Lord always takes care of it so much better than me.
He is always with us, even when you think you're not. If you're down on your knees, if you're contemplating committing suicide, if you're contemplating doing anything, know that the reason why you got up, because God was with you. He was there all the time. And so there are just some things that, even though we think he's not there, he has brought us through it. And so when I tell you, there are different levels. I was at that point before. And if it wasn't for him, all the things that I thought I wasn't going to be able to do, he was like, oh, yes, you can. Who else is going to take care of your kids better than you? Who else is going to do this and do that? And he could see the future. So he knows that those individuals that I was already planning and wrote my letter about, who was going to take care of my kids, he knew they weren't going to be the ones, and that they were already having problems with their own kids. And so we have to know that, that praying is powerful, and that knowing, even though we don't think he's there when we need him, he is always right there for us, protecting us at all times. When you say God is good, he's good for real.
All the time. Yes, he is. Yes, he is. This is one of those conversations that could go on for several podcasts. And I see people jumping in and on. I just really would like for you guys to have some comments that some of you are engaged in. I don't want to force you to do that, but please don't forget to log on to Stephanie I changed that, .com, where you can not only purchase products, but you can also purchase a service as well. Danyell, where can we reach you? Where can individuals purchase the book? I know it's a pre-sale order and what have you, and everybody should be on the lookout for it. I love the title, 365 Joy Devotional. I love that. That does that mean that 365 authors, by the way?
Yeah, there are
Wow.
365 authors. And
Wow,
so,
y'all.
and what I love about that is that you will find something that will relate to you.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and the fact that you're getting it from different perspectives. So I chose forgiveness, but there are a plethora of individuals, the co-authors, who chose different things that, or why they found joy. And and of course we all found joy in family and just different things that we deal with throughout life. But I wanted to connect to something that a lot of us go through that we don't talk about, that we don't discuss, and that's hard to do, which is forgiveness. And I think if we all learned to forgive and find ways to forgive, it would not make life better just for us, but also the people that we're around, that we surround ourselves with. So anybody who knows me know I'm not a technical savvy person, and your sister been working on this for hours today. But I do have, for those who may be interested in later purchasing for our pre-sale, because we're in the pre-sale right now, and then the books will be available and ready around the middle of October. My new website is for the number 4, forgiving is key at gmail.com. So that is the number 4, giving is key at gmail.com.
So
And
they can, so individuals can send you information, even though, excuse me, even though the book is not
yes,
ready
because we're
yet,
in the
they
pre-sale.
can still get information
Mhm.
through that email.
Yes, we're in the pre-sale phase. And then also I have a number. I can give you a Google number because sometimes people just want to call and talk and get a little bit more information.
Mhm.
My number is 443-990-1174.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Well, everybody, this has been a wonderful time spent. I believe you're going to be blessed because you're not reading from an author who doesn't know what it's like to be hurt, what it's like to be wounded and offended. And I love the fact, Danielle, that you're courageous and that you're not holding back. I do like, it's your story, and I like the way you've framed it, so that anyone who's a part of the story can tell their own story, but you're telling your part, how you responded, and how um, negative offenses impacted you, and how you found forgiveness to be a healing balm for you. I like the fact that you're speaking from personal experience as well, and very courageous, extremely courageous. And who is this person here? Someone named Corey says we must forgive daily. It's put my glasses on. Why am I staring at that? we must forgive we must forgive daily. It's not a one-shot deal. Absolutely, Corrine. I think I called you Corey. My apologies. Absolutely, it's not. Um,
And let
it's
me
not.
say, Corrine, we call her Mikey. She is my cousin, and she is amazing. And she is one of the people who have helped me through my journey of
Wow.
forgiveness. And I'll say this, we all have trials, tribulations, hurdles, and obstacles. So we all have a story. We all have a testimony. And I'm just speaking in a way that even though we come across all of that and we deal with it, there are still ways that we can still find joy and forgiving for us, for emotional and mental health, and not for the perpetrator. And if you want to forgive the perpetrator, that's okay, because there are
Yeah.
different levels of forgiveness.
Absolutely. And I believe Claudia echoed that. She's levels of forgiveness and self-care. So there are a lot of takeaways here. I'm excited about reading what you've penned. I hope that this motivates you to go solo. you know, my first writing experience, and I share this with upcoming authors, that I was actually in grad school when the Lord led me to write. And it was one of my instructors, Dr. Samuel Banks, God rest his soul, who encouraged me because he liked my papers, he liked my writing. And he spoke to me in a way that no one ever had about my writing. And I always wanted to write as a child. Love going to the library, feeling those crunchy plastic covers. I love that. But I never knew what to write about. But when the Lord lays his hand on you and directs you, he even directs us in our dreams. And so when I was moved to write while in grad school, doing two things at once, I got a call from Dr. Susan Johnson Cook, who was doing something like the 365 Project. She had 50 authors, and one of them was Martin Luther King's daughter, Yolanda, who passed. But we all were part of that book. It was Sister to Sister, Devotions for and from African American Women. Then she went on to be the editor of another one, Sister Strength, and we had collaborations. That helped because I was in the middle of writing my own book, and so it really strengthened me to go forward to finish what I had started. So I really appreciate, even I believe her name is Vanessa. Yeah, I appreciate what she's doing, how she is allowing you all to be a part of her vision. So that shared spirit is much appreciated. So I wish you well going forward in a solo endeavor. I see it, I comment, I do.
Well, I do want to say that my main reason for forgiving is because Jesus Christ forgave me, and he allowed
Oh,
me to do a
there we
start.
go.
And so with that start over and being forgiven, I wanted to take the opportunity to forgive individuals.
Amen. I love that's a great note to um, close on because we're not forgiven,
Mm-hmm.
and we need it every day. We need it every day. None of us are righteous. None of us are perfect, rather, none of us, and we all need it. Danyell, thank you so much for stopping by Winning Ways.
Thank you for having me.
And I look forward to having more conversations with you because you really are an advocate for people. And it makes sense that you would find forgiveness as a weapon and as a benefit as well. So thank you so much for saying yes and sharing your story, sharing your endeavor with the world. Well, everybody, time has been well spent. Um, I'm excited. I'm just excited about what God is doing throughout the earth, and I hope you are too. Well, again, you know where to find Miss Danyell, and you know where to find me. On Mondays, I'll be right back here doing it again one more time. Goodbye, everybody. Have a great week, and see you all next week. Take care.